Transformative Rising.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, so it's Justine and I again, surprise. And I think one of our goals in general with this particular podcast and with things we share is to try to balance light with dark. We would like to be a counterbalance to the new age propaganda psyop situation of everything's just love and light and we should just sing songs and dance in fields naked or whatever.
Those are
And
great.
and that's
Don't not do
yeah,
that.
like please do that, but that's also not an accurate reflection of the reality that we're all involved in, the consensus reality. And we also want to help people take some space from all of the horrible things happening in the world, all of the addiction and suffering, and God forbid if you're plugged into the media machine in any way. um, so we move through the same layers as everybody else, and we try to choose moments to speak on this podcast when we have clarity, because we want to share upliftment and codes that help liberate people and not share parasitic density, because there's enough of that coming from every angle. But I think it's important to remind everyone, listening, that we have our moments.
We clear entities too.
So I'm going to turn it over to Justine to share a little bit about an experience today that came in the wake of the medicine that was extremely intense and extremely powerful.
And super icky.
And icky.
Really icky. And Zane can jump in because he, of course, witnessed and then helped me move through this icky expression of an entity. Yeah, we have entity attachments too. And so this particular entity I've had for has been attached to me, sucking my energy for a very long time. Was related to my kundalini and my sexual energy. And I think many people can relate to that. And I finally had enough strength to clear this entity. And so one aspect of clearing entities, which is our topic right now, is having enough energy to do so that you don't damage yourself, because an entity is also, there's somewhat of a mutual exchange of energy. And if you are ripping an entity out of your system, it can create damage, and wounding, and also leave you open for reattachment if you don't clear the consent pathways at the same time. So that's one aspect of clearing entities. The other aspect is clarity on what's occurring, which is really helpful to have a partner who knows you extremely well and knows what's not you, because they can feel it, because it's icky. And it doesn't mean that you are icky in any way. And your partner may be distancing themselves from you because they feel this icky energy that's not you. And you can also use that as a cue that something that's not you is expressing. So I'll kind of tell you a little bit of the linear experience, and maybe you will gain some tools to help yourself or your loved ones when they're having this. And it just brings such deep rage that so many people are expressing these energetic entities and parasites at each other and directing it at each other. And it creates so much pain and suffering. So it's also very, very important to remember retroactively and in the moment if you can, that this is not you, this is not your loved one, and it has nothing to do with who they really are. So last night, Zane and we are in a very short time frame from the medicine. So another thing, of course, all these anecdotes, classic Justine, 1 minute and it's 30. With the medicine, as soon as you are on the other side, you get to experience all of the dissonant qualities of your life surface in your life, day to day.
In real life.
In real life. Because that is the medicine working. Situations will arrange themselves. People will play roles. Things will arise. That's this medicine. Yeah, the root bark medicine. Situations will arise that are exactly representative of the patterns that you are ready to clear. So here we are in this window a few days after, and Zane and I experience a looping pattern that we have had the entirety of the over a decade relationship that we've been in. Of course, it's around intimacy and feeling loved and feeling valued and all of that. And it plays out perfectly. The exact same scenario that has occurred for the past 13 plus years and results in a meltdown and results in a looping pattern of, oh yes, this again, and blah, 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 and the whole thing. Arranges itself perfectly. And so we go to bed and it's expressing. And the way that it expresses is a massive surge of sexual energy for me that I am unable to distribute and ground in my body. And it is excruciating.
Because there's maybe a little something in there that's hijacking,
that's feeding
your organic circuitry.
So it's eating cake.
So that instead of that energy distributing through you and you getting massive cosmic activations or massive healings for your body, it's tweaking your nervous system out.
It's pigging. And what it wants to do to keep pigging is tell a story. And tell the story over and over and over again. And make you convinced that this is the same story and I can't do this anymore. And Zane, we need to talk about this and we need to talk about it now. And I'm going to get escalated and I'm going to get triggered and I'm really mad. And there's this energy that's building and the thing is pigging. So of course, because I'm in such a short window, I am able to observe this happening. Thank the medicine, really, and myself and Zane. And I can observe it. So I'm trying to contain and redistribute this energy in my body. I am communicating that I'm uncomfortable. I'm communicating that I'm disappointed, but I'm not lashing out. And Zane did prepare a flush for me, and I could feel my inability to release the entity. We're at like midnight here, and I could feel the thing that pretends to be me saying, but you don't really want lack of intimacy in your relationship, so you don't really want to clear this. I mean, it's literally describing why I can't let it go.
So insidious.
And so insidious.
I forgot. So yeah, I prepared a flush last night.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did it. It didn't move. And part of it moved because I could, there's the part of me that's me, and then there's the thing that's not me pretending to be me, and they're like dialoguing. And the part that's me is so clear because I'm just out of the medicine that's like, these are the steps, Justine, this is what's happening. And so then I go to bed and I don't sleep all night. And I am literally screaming in my head for the thing that is not me to shut up and stop taking my energy. And this energy is for me. I'm having a Kundalini experience. And this is mine for my healing. And I'm trying to generate pathways for the energy to move, to heal my physical body. And I was extremely agitated. My cat wouldn't snuggle me, which I was on Puito side and everything. And because she can feel that. And so then I get up really early because I didn't sleep, and I go for a run. I'm trying to ground the energy through my body. Okay, I'm learning how to distribute this because this is mine. This is what's happening. And I said on my run, I'm going to go home. I'm going to light a charcoal and smudge. I'm going to do a flush. As soon as I got home, I forgot all of those things. Did some yoga, made some tea, sitting outside, and then Zane wakes up, and as soon as he wakes up, I get completely re-triggered. And leading up to that point, I had been feeling like, okay, I think I'm on the other side of this thing. Like, I think I got it. Completely re-triggered and super agitated, and I could tell he can tell, and he's trying to just not step on the explosion that he can feel, and prepares his own flush, and he's doing his own thing. And I just, I wanted to shatter the mug of tea on the ground, start smashing things. I just had this energy in my body, and I didn't feel like I was able to manage it. And so I finally lashed out and said, "You suck." And it was that moment, me lashing out, where the entity reared its eke, filthy nastiness. And I saw it immediately, and I screamed, "I need help." And it was not graceful, and it was not pleasant. But because of that lash out, I knew, Zane doesn't suck. I'm in love with him. What? That was so, because we had just been through this experience too. It was that's hilarious on some level. And so then the entity tried to take full on control of my body. I was shaking. I was in excruciating pain. And Zane is using the tools that we know, and
at this point, I was on my way to the casita, to the guest house, to do my own flush, working to clear my part, and came kind of running essentially back out, realizing that this was hitting a crisis point
right now, in the exact moment
we thank God we have some tools. I think a lot of people seeing that degree of both emotional and physical reaction would probably take somebody to the emergency
they
room.
would think, that there's psychosis occurring, or a big blowout
or
tantrum.
A seizure. It's almost like a seizure.
Well, I was shaking. I was communicating my physical discomfort. And meanwhile, the true voice of my mind, was communicating, this is what's going on. But I couldn't, you're in so much pain, and the entity is then generating so much pain to avoid following the steps. So Zane fed me a filament, and he handed me the glass bottle, and I made him take it back because I knew I was going to smash it everywhere. And I couldn't, it was so hard to get that thing in my mouth. And Zane makes these Sperling rings, which are copper tools that are amazing for clearing around my body. And it generated a lot of, seizure-like experience because this thing is moving through my body. Handed me our massive black tourmaline, and I couldn't touch it. I mean, I could feel that thing was helping to pull this entity out, and it was causing pain. And so I said, just put it near me. Couldn't touch it. And Zane smudged me with mapacho, which is extremely effective in the area where I could feel it the most in my body, where it was generating in my body. And that started to calm things down. And he prepared a flush. Tobacco flush, tobacco is such powerful medicine. And in 2 rounds, I was able to get it out of my body. And the most just disgusting thing cleared out of my body, and I'm free. And so when we have these tantrums, essentially.
Wait. That wasn't enough of a like you're free. Like you're
Yeah,
free.
but free.
like
And
I've been waiting for this our entire relationship.
yeah, 13 plus years.
I've
It's icky.
long
It was
before I had
icky.
any idea even what entities were, how they expressed or any of this, I felt this thing.
Nasty thing.
And then as I learned and progressed in my own spiritual kind of awareness and learned what an energy body is and learned what parasites and entities and then at some point I think I did have an experience once we were well along in our own development where I was like, I think that was an entity releasing. And then this experience was like the grand finale of like,
totally.
oh my God.
Well, I had enough strength coming out of the medicine.
But let me just share a little bit too from like a third party perspective of it's scary and you want to go into fear and and it's not like all entities release in this way. Like this is particularly intense and it's targeting Justine's a very powerful being and it's targeting her most powerful, potent energy and that combination is just extremely intense. But there's a part of you, a part of me in that moment that wants to panic because it feels like a health crisis, I'm like, is there someone I can call? Is there something thankfully, again, we do have this toolkit, and it's in those moments, you are so grateful that you have the toolkit and that you've used the tools and cultivated your trust in the tools and their efficacy, and you watch them work, and they don't work as much as you want them to work potentially, but guess what? We got to the other side.
We did it. It totally worked, and Zane held it impeccably. And it is so important not to placate the entity. Because what the entity wants, or in this case wanted, was for Zane to hold me and tell me it was going to be okay, and for us to be intimate and to sort of do the like makeup thing, even though we didn't have a fight at all. And that just continues the loop.
But it also conversely, and this, again, hard-earned experience from many, many, many years of this interface with this particular entity, it also wants to engage the parasites in me. So actually, after Justine's experience later, I had a small release, but it was related to a complex that I've had for a long time, which is part of a bigger infiltration that's around like superiority and walking the higher ground. And Justine would start to have an experience like this, and I would be like, I'm perfect. Like, this isn't my thing. This isn't my problem. Like, you're the one freaking out. You're the one having your whole,
You're the one.
and that actually fuels, it like feeds the flames
absolutely
that the entity's feeding on, because then Justine gets more and more hurt and more abandoned and more, and all the wounding that underlies that attachment point gets inflamed. And that's exactly what that parasitic relationship is going for, because its only MO is to harvest as much energy as it possibly can from both of us.
And so with the placating thing, you don't placate the entity, you hold what's going on, but you do support the being. So, Zane was supporting me and helping me through the steps to clear this, and then with such sweet tenderness holding me afterwards and celebrating and encouraging me and say, you're doing amazing, during an experience that could feel like an attack on his system because it wants to lash out. And I did have enough energy that I, besides that you suck, was able to hold it
You did amazing,
from lashing
yeah.
out. But as much as you can, support that being. You're doing amazing. You're clearing this. This is what's happening. You're doing incredible. Good job. Like, these are the steps. This is what we're going to do. Then then it can't lash out. Then it's it. That's it. You just follow the steps, clear it out energetically, clear it out of your body, and it's done. Because there's nothing. Zane is like right there. He's next to me, gentleness, lovingness. There's just nothing that I genuinely feel, and so it can't express in that way. And then, another piece that I experienced was I have experienced this entity for a very long time, so I have known that it's there, and I tried to trace it on the medicine. And I asked about what is this thing that occurs? I really don't like it, and I don't think it's me. And I wasn't able to trace it. And it doesn't matter because it expressed 2 days later and I got to clear it out. So sometimes, we feel like we need to find the origin point or trace it. And sometimes it just needs to rear its ugly, icky head and you just need to go through the sequence of steps to clear it. And then the final thing that is extremely important, that does relate to tracing, that you do need to do, is clear the consent pathways in your field. So there was technology involved, and there were actual pathways that I was able to identify, and it's pretty clear afterwards. And for me, I started to get clarity during I had to take the flush in 2 rounds because it was so big and so gross and so intense. And it was clear, like, oh, wow, it's kind of anchored in this thing, and I need to delete this material or clean out this object in the house or tell this area of my field that I love you and you're whole again, whatever that is. So that's also, a really important aspect because it will try to reattach itself. And because I'm delicious, like it had a long time of pigging, and definitely wants that. And at the same time, if you can, with the flushing, kill it.
Yeah, this is not a place for and again, it's kind of like where I take fault with a lot of new age spiritual programming, things that I've maybe embodied at moments of like, oh, we just have to love everything and be gentle. And
this thing is not love.
These are literally the opposite of love. They have fallen so far that they do not have a connection to creation anymore.
Which is why it's piggying my connection.
They've become parasitic life forms, so they cannot derive energy from source, so they have to derive it from beings who do have a connection to source. And the most compassionate and sweetest spiritual thing that you can do to that entity is to send it back to the great central sun for recycling and eliminate that consciousness out of our creation. Its energy will be returned back into creation, undifferentiated, and it can become part of the next chapter of our universe.
We're composting intergalactically, and I will say that when you see and or smell that type of thing, there is no part of you that thinks that thing should be alive or hook into anyone else ever again. The foul, icky disgustingness of these creatures are not part of organic creation. They do not belong here, and they are not love. And you can hear, I'm sure, the feelsomeness in my being And people who have experienced this type of entity controlling their life and manipulating their relationships can absolutely resonate that it does not belong and it is not them. And I hope some of these tools are helpful. We'd be happy to talk more about this. And
can I add one thing? Because I remembered it. I don't want to forget that you've also been weakening the hold of this entity for a very long time.
sure.
And there is a cumulative process here. Like especially like we release parasites all the time now. I think a lot of people who have been through the cleanse work do. Also with holding space for others, we use our bodies to transmute things like all day long. So that's natural, that's okay. But an entity that's this hooked in, the way it was jacked into your nervous system was what created that crazy shaking
Yeah.
reaction
Yeah.
and excruciating pain and whole thing. That thing was so deeply entwined with Justine's organic field architecture. And so the extraction process, like she was saying, like you can't just like go from like having tantrums left and right every day to like pulling that thing out the next day, because it would actually be fatal. So and it's really insidious the way the technology and entities jack into our nervous system, because they actually interrupt circuits that are essential for our own life force to translate through our body. So, you know, this has taken years and years and years to get to this point. It doesn't mean it needs to take years for you, because the oh, oops. Oops, sorry, we had a little alarm, but it doesn't need to take years for you, but it does require a degree of patience. Just and to remember that every time that thing comes up, the first step is just observing it. So be the observer. Even if you have the full tantrum, watch it from a detached third party perspective, because you are actually watching a foreign intelligence hijack your body. So that is the first step. You're separating its influence from yourself, your true self. And then, maybe next time you make a little more progress. Maybe you smudge or do a flush, or you lash out a little bit less, or however that goes. And maybe next time you do have like a shaking reaction or whatever, and you actually clear part of its stronghold, and part of your organic architecture clicks back into place, and you reestablish a circuit where your energy can run how it was designed to run according to your blueprint. And then maybe at some point you get to the grand finale. But
let me tell you, it's totally awesome. On the other side.
and it's gonna get faster and easier.
Absolutely.
And it's happening. This is being percolated through the planet right now. It's what the solar activity is about to a large degree. It's why there's all this interest in medicines. It's why tools like smudging and flushes or enemas, if you're not familiar with that term, are so essential and vital. And it's why we need people we can trust in our lives to hold us through these moments and not get pulled into the story or the conflict. But also don't judge yourself, right? Like,
that's what's so important about the technique of observing it, because you do eventually recognize, wow, that wasn't me. It was operating through my body, but was not me. And it's okay. The degree of targeting and torture and directed wounding and trauma does not mean that you are particularly fucked up or there's something wrong with me. You it means that you are so amazing and delicious that these things are attracted to you. And it's so essential to say to yourself that my energy, whatever it is, my sexual energy, my kundalini, my fill in the blank, is for me and for me alone. because it is beautiful, and I am beautiful, and I am worthy of my own light and my own energy. And it's really important, because the shame and the guilt and the humiliation, which, trust me, it's there. I've been through it. Once that's another entity. And then it's like multiple piggies are at the party. So that tool of watching it happen, and retroactively you can debrief it with yourself or someone you trust or love who witnessed, and talk about it. And yeah, it's humiliating, but that's the other thing, is that this has happened before. And my own process of recognizing it, has been cultivated over years, but part of it has been to talk about it with Zane and have him reflect back to me. And it's so important to name it, because humiliation is also a worm. And if you keep it internal, it's going to be a negative feedback loop. And we're meant to be seen in all of our vulnerabilities, because tenderness is so beautiful.
Yeah, wow, that's nice. Yeah, and also sexuality is a powerful force, so use your sexuality wisely.
Impeccably.
Because, oh my God, I think Justine and I learned a big lesson today. And yeah.
Feeling good, feeling free.
Feeling free. And as we've said so many times before, I'm not going to go on a big tangent because this is the closeout, but there are a lot of programs out there in the world that we're supposed to find the one, and how it's going to be this fairy tale story, and we're just going to live happily ever after once we find our true partner, and they'll be perfect and they'll fulfill our every need. Justine and I have moved through a lot of conflict, of distortion, of really struggling to see each other. And I think that this medicine experience of us actually being in a field together, separate but in the same field, working on the same work, was a breakthrough. And
this was sort of the primary looping conflict in our relationship that hadn't moved until today. So of course it's going to surface right after that too.
And the breakthrough, I think the main point I want to get across, the breakthrough was, falling into each other's arms, crying and saying how much we love each other. That was a breakthrough. The breakthrough was equally what happened today, which was watching such an intense and scary and nasty thing get cleaned out.
It was icky, yeah.
And so when we're looking towards these ideals and constructs of happily ever after and love and partnership, just to remember that we came to Earth, we chose to come into the heart of the parasitic matrix, and you're not going to just find that here right now at this density. You have to move through it. And on the other side is this perfect, beautiful union you've always known was possible.
You're doing amazing. Keep it
Love
up.
you all. Yeah.